Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. We're going to give some other people just another minute to jump in. But today we've got some Georgia chapter leaders, we've got some new volunteers, some potential volunteers. We've got a good group of people and a good agenda to work through. So thank you for being here. Okay. So we're going to give you a chance to get to meet some of your other fellow new volunteers, learn about the chapter's work, hear from some of our leaders about current programs, campaigns, initiatives, groups that you can get involved in. And then we'll have a chance for you to spend some more time with a couple of those, asking questions, chatting with people. And other than that, I'm going to kick it off to Jessica.
Thanks, Tia. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So glad you could all be here today. My name is Jessica Moorhead. I'm the Sierra Club Georgia Chapter Director. Super excited to be joined by this amazing team of staff and volunteers that are on the call tonight. And on their behalf, I want to extend our warmest welcome to all of you. We're so excited you're here. As Tia said, we know that many, if not all of you, helped us reach our recent election victories here in Georgia. So again, another huge thank you to all your hard work. I started my career here at Sierra Club in May of 2016. My passion for public lands and getting outside is what led me here. But I have to honestly say it is this team of staff and volunteers that I get to work with every day and all the great work that we're doing here in Georgia that keeps me here at Sierra Club. I think most of you have already been volunteering, so you know a little bit about Sierra Club. We're unique. We're the largest, oldest, most influential grassroots environmental organization in the country. And we are volunteer-led, both at the national and state level. Tonight, you're going to have an opportunity to meet and hear from many of those talented leaders here in Georgia. Leaders here in Georgia that are protecting our treasured outdoor spaces, like the almost 900,000 acres of the Chattahoochee Oconee National Forest, leaders working tirelessly to protect our world-renowned Okefenokee Swamp, leaders that support communities so they can advocate for their own just transition to clean energy, leaders advocating for transit equity throughout the state, leaders who help us hold ourselves accountable to pursue racial and environmental justice throughout all of our work, leaders who have been working decades to help elect environmental champions to our state legislature and to hold them accountable once they're elected to support equitable pro-environment policy that's good for all Georgians. And last but not least, leaders at the very heart of what makes Sierra Club's grassroots work. Folks who manage our local groups throughout the state, working on many of the issues I've already mentioned, and more at the most local level, county, city, neighborhoods. It really is a treat to have so many folks gathered here in the space tonight, and I know you're going to enjoy what we have in store for you. Thanks again so much for being here. And now I'd like to hand it off to Eddie, our longtime dedicated political chair.
Okay, I'm Eddie Ehlert, the political chair for the Georgia chapter. I'm also liaison to most southern states, including Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kentucky, all progressive hotbeds. I want to thank everyone who's on this call for the hard work that helped give us 2 election cycles in a row with a net positive result. I would really wish we had had more success here in the state, but we certainly overcame that with some of our federal results. We, for the first time in 20 years, have 2 progressive environmental champion senators in the United States Senate who both happened to vote properly on a little issue that was before the Senate last Saturday. So We can pat them on the back when we see them. Um, all of our political work is done under the guidance of the Sierra Club political guidelines, which are available on Campfire, and I'm sure that the link to that will be brought up later in the program. We are required to follow it closely and stay within those guidelines, lest we bring down the Federal Election Commission or nasty lawsuits upon ourselves or incur unfortunate penalties from the IRS for the use of funds toward political activity. Everything, despite the fact that Citizens United seemed to turn loose everything on the other side of the political spectrum, we still have to follow the rules and follow them very carefully. Once again, let me thank everybody who participated, and I hope you gain valuable information out of this. And I look forward to entertaining any questions that anyone has about political activity. Outside of this meeting, my contact information is available on the chapter website in the Sierra. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Tia.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Jang, she, hers pronouns. I'm on staff here at the Georgia chapter. Thank you so much for being here this evening. It is truly a pleasure. And I think most of the staff and fellow volunteers can say that working with volunteers is the best part of our work. So we can't wait to get to know you. So what is the Sierra Club and why do we exist, right? A problem has to exist for there to be a purpose, right? And since we started in the 1980s, I think, the issue has evolved, but one thing has remained constant, right, of the imminent dangers of climate change and global warming. But while in the 1980s, our group and our chapter might have come together on certain land issues about protecting our public lands and making sure that clean air and water is accessible for all, we've developed and built power together amongst staff and volunteers and our members over time to come to here to today, here in 2021, trying to fight for a just, equitable, and sustainable future that we all deserve, right? Built on foundations of intersecting with so many social justice movements that happen today, right? That hold so much power together, from racial justice, economic justice, gender equity. The bottom line is, we all can't advance our movements if there is no planet to exist on and a healthy water and healthy air for us to live and subsist off of. But what's great is that today we come here on the purpose that we can be more proactive about this vision and to advance a new future for our state, our communities, our families, for a healthier planet. And that's why we exist. Awesome. So that being said, I want to talk a little bit about who we are, right? I noticed Sierra Club, right? You might have heard that we are one of the largest, oldest organizations that have ever existed in the environmental community. But I really want to reassert that we're your friends and neighbors. We are working class, everyday Americans like you and I. We're not billionaire CEOs in this space. We are people who are here together, who are simply concerned about our communities, the future of our planet, and that have come together to take action and to do something to advance this future that I was talking about. And we're a lot of us, right? There's 75,000 members and supporters here in Georgia. And so it's really likely that right here in your neighborhood or, close by in a neighboring county, it's very likely that there's probably a Sierra Club supporter and member who thinks the same as you and who hold these shared values just the same as you. And it's just like you who wants to do something better for our communities. And we've been around for a while. 38 years specifically. We're about to go on to 40. We're so excited. But what's been constant over time is that we are communities and volunteers coming together, wanting to make a difference, bringing our shared backgrounds and celebrating the diversity experiences that we have to make the Sierra Club what it is today. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Nina, our wonderful chair of the Metro Atlanta group, to talk a little bit about what we do and the structure of the Sierra Club.
Sure. Thanks. As Angela mentioned, we are a large organization made up of a lot of members, and we need to rely on our people power working together, because when it comes down to it, that's the strongest thing. That's all we have to counter the power of moneyed interests that are working so hard to just continue to make a profit on the backs of the people and the planet. So we believe in the power of people working together to make change happen. So who are these people? So Sierra Club is a national organization. The Georgia chapter is one of many chapters across the country. Some states like California have many chapters because they have a lot more people. That's kind of how the organization is structured across the country. So we have a national organization. There are volunteers and staff who operate at that level. We have these chapters that work on state level issues. And we have local groups beyond that. So within our chapter, this is kind of our general structure. We are a volunteer-led organization, and so the volunteer leaders are the executive committee. We also have staff who support the work of the chapter. There's a lot of work that goes on within the Georgia chapter of the Sierra Club, and that work happens within issue committees. So you'll see here on the left, we've got committees that work on clean energy. We have the legislative committee working on state legislative issues. Rail works on regional transportation and livability. We have a political committee that's mostly about the work that a lot of y'all have been doing already, endorsing candidates and making sure that the candidates we endorse are going to win. We have a wildlands and wildlife committee who works on protecting wild spaces, and we also have an equity committee. Then we have local groups. These are just geographically located. So you can see here that we have recently had 6 groups. Coastal is not as active these days. So you can join these based on where you are located. These days in the pandemic, when we have a lot of online meetings, it's actually been easier to connect with other groups outside of your local area. And you'll hear from the leaders of these local groups and issue committees later in this call. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for that overview, Nina. And yeah, we, as we were mentioning, we have so many members and supporters, and the Sierra Club, we attempt to address a huge array of different issues, which we're really excited to bring up with you in just a second. But if we can go to the next slide, I would love to talk a little bit more about what we do and how exactly we get everything that we're mentioning done, right? So we are just here to bring, everyday folks like you and I together to connect, to have the resources to connect your passion to actually take some real action on these various climate and environmental issues. And the principles and the values that we approach this work with is that we believe so much in grassroots people power, like Nina mentioned. That's the reason why we care so much about having so many members and supporters from all across Georgia, and that without representation from our communities, without community values represented, we can't get to the future of what a just transition, healthy communities can look like without your input and without having a clear, strong connection to our local communities. And so we don't gatekeep this information at all, right? We're here to just share the ways in which you can advocate and take action, and to democratize that, to make it accessible for as many people as possible. Yeah. So if we go to the next slide, just a bit of a sampling. We're going to dive into this just a second, but How exactly we do all this work and all these issue areas that we're talking about, being connected to the grassroots communities, is that our main priorities include advancing climate solutions. So this, obviously includes clean energy, transition to 100% clean energy, shutting down coal plants or the Beyond Coal campaign, fighting for energy efficiency and making sure our bills are more affordable in the state, and incorporating equity in the way that we're approaching a new, modern, clean energy infrastructure here in Georgia. The next thing is priority is, kind of what we're basically founded on, and it's just our essentially kind of like our bread and butter is protecting our public lands, making sure there's clean air and there's clean water accessible for everyone, and that wildlife is protected in our state. And I think that's what folks associate a lot with the Sierra Club, and we certainly still have a lot of efforts related to public lands and protecting clean air and water in the chapter. But we also want to do this hand in hand in acting for justice, right? And showing up for communities that are oftentimes underserved and marginalized. Again, like I said, we have a strong pulse and understanding of what our local needs are. And so it's up to us, and it's vastly important that we underlie all of our efforts in standing up for racial and social justice, making sure everyone's at the table, and making sure all voices are heard. And lastly, we want to enjoy this work, and we want to bring fun into it. I know it's hard right now with the pandemic, but one of the things we really enjoy is getting outdoors and enjoying and exploring our beautiful lands here in the majestic Southeast. It's one of my favorite things to do in the summers, to go out and do some water sports. And I think this is something that we're really excited to bring back with our local volunteers who usually spearhead this here in the chapter. And so I hope that helped give an overview. And thanks so much to Nina for that awesome overview of our structure. And I think we're ready to kind of dive in a little deeper into all the ways that you can get involved. And I'm excited to kick that off. So go to the next slide. Okay. So again, to remind you, my name is Angela Jang, and I oversee all of our political and legislative activities here at the chapter in close collaboration with our legislative and political volunteer committees who provide a lot of advisement for our strategy and our targeting. And building political power in Georgia is year-round. It's not just a campaign season, it's not just in November or just the fall months leading up to November. I really want to assert that here at the Sierra Club, we are constantly building political power. And as you've seen with Stacey Abrams' recent op-ed, she built a 10-year plan to get to the reality that's here in Georgia. All the wins that you saw, it took planning and it took constant advocacy year-round in the times that people may not notice that you're putting pedal to the metal, essentially. And so in January to April, which is right now, we are lobbying our legislators. We're holding them accountable to their campaign promises. We're advocating for our bills that will advance the values that I talked about. And we're also trying to shut down bills that will regress us back to a fossil fuel dependent pass, essentially. After legislative session ends in the summer months from May to August, we thank our legislators. We keep those conversations going with our local officials. We educate the public. And then we move into September and December, in which we get involved in elections, like many of you have already, and advance our democracy elections and get out the vote. So get involved today. You can join regardless of your experience level. We actually prefer, we're ready to train you if this is the first time you've done political and legislative work. The time commitment is flexible depending up to you. There's so many ways you can get involved. And again, this is an evergreen campaign. These are not one-off campaigns. We're constantly building power in each other. And so I'd love to hear from you and to connect with you to build political power in Georgia and this year and beyond.
Yeah. And thank you, Angela. We wanted to give Angela the spotlight first with our snapshot of all of the different campaigns and work that you might want to get involved in, because so many of you have come to us from the political season, fresh off politics, want to keep getting involved in that kind of work. Legislative session is for you. So we wanted to highlight that sort of work happening now and year round. I also want to turn the Zoom mic That's apparently what I'm using now, the Zoom mic. I'm going to turn the Zoom mic over to all of our local group leaders as well to give you a little snapshot of what's going on at the really hyper local level. So I'm going to do that, kicking it off to someone you've also heard from already, Nina. Would you talk to us about Metro Atlanta?
Sure. Hi. So as I mentioned earlier, we have local groups across the state. I'm the chair of the Metro Atlanta group. Our group area is somewhat loosely defined. In general, it pretty much focuses on Fulton and DeKalb County. But if you are in the Metro Atlanta area and don't fall within the areas served by the Centennial group and the Gwinnett group, which you'll hear from later, you are certainly welcome to join ours. So the main thing that our main activity that we do and have been doing even during COVID, and we've been doing that online, is our monthly meetings. These are educational meetings. We have a different speaker each month, and they're also an opportunity to share action items that are either relevant to that topic or just timely in general. In addition to these meetings, we aim to serve as the local Metro Atlanta area portal to all things Sierra Club. So if someone is in our area and wants to get involved with any of the chapter issue committees, please come to us and we're happy to help direct you and help work on that. We also aim to stay connected with local aligned organizations to see how we can work together and offer support on issues that intersect. Let's see, going into this year, some of our main goals are, one, to just continue to do our ongoing activity of holding these monthly meetings, and offer that as a service to anyone who's interested in tuning in and participating. The next is to make a difference in local elections. And I'm sure that's something that's very important to everybody who has joined this call. In case you're not aware, we have Atlanta city elections this year. And I'm sure there's some other local elections too. Any city or county elections, endorsements for those candidates go through the local groups. So if you are interested in getting involved in that, we really want to get some environmental justice champions into the mayor's and city council offices and keep accountable whoever gets elected. Another thing we want to do this year is to keep better tabs on local issues and get better connected both within our existing Sierra Club community. There's people who live in Atlanta, in Fulton, in DeKalb who still don't know that Metro Atlanta Group exists, unfortunately, I think, but they do know that the chapter exists, which is a great start. But we want folks to be connected however they can. And we also want to get better connected with other local aligned organizations. Finally, if we can collectively improve our pandemic situation, maybe we can get back to doing group outings later this year. And in that case, we can definitely use outings volunteers. What does involvement look like? We need, later this year, we're going to need volunteers to consider which candidates to endorse in local elections. If you want to get involved with tracking local issues, finding speakers for upcoming meetings, getting connected with other organizations locally, please let us know. Specifically, if you want to get involved with grassroots organizing with the Stone Mountain Action Coalition, let us know. And then, please get in touch. You can see our website and Facebook page down below. I'll also paste them into the chat directly so you can check them out. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. Another one of our local groups, Lynn, you're up next.
Hi. My name is Lynn Walston. I'm the chair of the Centennial Group. We cover Cobb, Cherokee, and North Fulton counties. We have concerns about transit equity, air and water quality, preserving green space. And we also hope to continue our communication with chapter clean energy, rail, political, and other committees, as well as meeting individually with our county commissioners to push for clean air, water, and equitable transit here. In our first Thursday group meetings and also community committee meetings. So we were fortunate this year to have a recent victory on the Cobb County Commission. We had two endorsed candidates, Jerica Richardson and Lisa Cupid, and they won. And also Monique Sheffield, who is not, we didn't have time to endorse her, but she's a commissioner we feel is in alignment with our goals, especially transit, clean water and air, like coal ash remediation, working on sterogenics, emissions, and also green space. So for 2021, we're focusing on environmental equity and outreach, supporting improved transit options for Cobb, Cherokee, and North Fulton, the coal ash remediation at local Georgia power plants like Plant McDonough, Plant Atkins, and Plant Bowen, reducing toxic emissions from sterogenics, as I said before, green space and passive park preservation, and also, of course, getting folks safely outside in nature with informal outings. And we're also pursuing a possible student internship from Life University. One of our members is working on that with us. Our volunteer needs extend to, we can always use help with conservation issues on our conservation committee with rail and transit support. We work a lot with COP for transit to try to extend transit up to this area. It's an ongoing initiative. Clean energy and beyond coal, local, issues. And we're also could use a youth representative. And as Nina said, we're always interested in speakers for future group meetings. That's always a concern. We have a really good meeting coming up March 4th. We always meet on the first Thursdays. And this is a virtual meeting with Dr. Elizabeth Martin, a Kennesaw State University professor. She's a volunteer with Cobb Climate Reality Project. And she's going to be speaking about creative, sustainable communities and buildings. Anyway, I apologize for my voice. I still got a little bit of laryngitis, but hopefully you could understand me. So thank you, Tia.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. And sorry for the strain on your voice.
Oh, it's okay.
All right. Dan, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Friedman. I lead the Gwinnett Group, which, in case you are not familiar with the environs of Atlanta, it's up 85, where all the traffic is. And I've been leading that group for the past 10 years. And we have done a few things. We've gotten heavily involved in politics. We have changed the makeup of the county commission from 5 Republicans and pretty conservative Republicans at that, all white, to putting 3 Democrats on the board, including 1 black and 1 Asian. I'm sorry, 2 blacks and 1 Asian. And we are quite proud of that, but that is just the first step. And what we are doing is there are a lot of projects that we are working on up there. The most notable one is probably transportation. We've had our continuing, not just fight, but war going on as far as convincing the voters as well as the commissioners. Fortunately, as I mentioned, we have a group of commissioners now that are more amenable to our message and to what we are doing. And so we are hoping that over the next year, possibly 2 years, we will actually get MARTA passed and or technically the SPLOST pass so that we can get a better program of public transportation up there. Just on a personal note, Nina, some of you may know that I'm the odd duck in many ways, but in this way, I live in Atlanta, and as I mentioned, I lead Gwinnett. And Nina, I have contacted my representative and senator and told them to vote no. So I got that out of the way. We also in Gwinnett have a ongoing water quality stream monitoring group that has been doing it for about 8 years and reporting our findings to the the
Environmental Protection Division, EPD.
Thank you. Yes. My mind went blank there for a moment. We are also have people working with Gwinnett government as well as some others as far as Ready for 100. And one of our leaders who is also leading the chapter is Scott Presson, who is also on this call. And we are hoping to make some strides in that area. And that includes, obviously, a bit of lobbying. And if you are interested in the political aspect or the lobbying aspect, then we've got a lot of work to do and would welcome any help in that area. If you want to do some water monitoring, we're not only looking to expand what we are currently doing, but to start a new site. And if you are interested in water quality and just getting out outside and taking measurements of the chemistry of the water and observing and recording wildlife around the water, then we really do need to talk. We're also looking for what we call an outings leader to manage hikes. Outings is our generalized term for anything really done in the outdoors. Normally it is hiking and camping, but can also include kayaking and canoeing, rock rappelling, and any number of other outdoors events. And if you are interested in any of those things, please contact me, or we'll talk later on this call, and I will pass it on to the next person. Tia, you can tell me who that is.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. The next group is actually the LaGrange group, and their leader had to step away at the last minute, so won't be able to join us. I'll try my best to give you a few highlights, but I highly recommend, if you live anywhere near LaGrange, Georgia, to reach out to this group. They are an impressive group of leaders, and they're fun and they're funny. They're doing some really cool work. So a few highlights just from them. If you wanted to get involved, they also have regular meetings monthly. They meet on the third Tuesdays. Some things that they've been doing lately, they started a bluebird monitoring project, and they have been going around and keeping tabs on bluebirds in the area. They built a pollinator garden and have been expanding it. It's gorgeous. They do a number of local park and waterway cleanup projects and are ready to hit the ground running with all the in-person events your little heart could want as soon as we are able to. One of the contact people there is Mary Lou Dabbs. Her contacts info on the slide. I highly recommend you get in touch with her. Okay. Sam, will you kick us off with a snippet of Savannah River Group?
Okay. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I'm Sam Boer. I co-chair the Savannah River Group in Augusta. we have fun. Just doing things we like, whether it be hiking or canoeing, or just visiting with others that share our interests and concerns about the environment. We're probably already working to make a difference in areas that you care about, whether it be concern over coal ash contamination or drinking water, or timbering our national forest while migratory birds are nesting, lack of pollen for bees and monarch butterflies. And for this, we have now received permission on developing a new pollinator garden in Augusta's Pendleton King Park. Or again, maybe we're stopping the Okefenokee from mining down in South Georgia. We had an effort in the first part, we're back doing it again. Or last, the destruction of our national forest wildlife habitat. We share your interest in the outdoors, with the exception of during this pandemic. We have a scheduled outing somewhere every weekend year round. By attending our group meetings, currently we do it with Zoom, you get to know us, make friends, especially with those that share your interests and concerns in wildlife and outings. We have an extensive water testing program in Richmond and Columbia counties with our Adopt a Stream program, with testing sites in 10 different locations every month. There are many ways to make a difference. Once you get to know us, we'll be joining with you and making a difference in what you care about. I'm sure you would agree with our legislative committee, numbers do count. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to dig into some of our issue committees and campaigns, the first of which is expanding upon the work that Sam just mentioned with protecting the Okefenokee swamp. So Nancy, if you would.
Hi, I'm Nancy Daves. As Sam mentioned, the Okefenokee swamp is the largest blackwater swamp in North America. And as Sam mentioned, mining has always been appealing to mining. The Okefenokee has always been appealing to mining companies. And 20 years ago, DuPont Chemical was trying to mine there. And because the Sierra Club national and local Georgia and Florida chapters rose up and told everybody about this, Bruce Babbitt, who was at the time Secretary of the Interior, decided this was just a terrible idea and put a stop to it. So 20 years, we were just about, actually Ricky, our communications guy, who's also on this call, was just about to write up a 20-year anniversary celebration of this really great decision that Secretary Babbitt had taken. And the next thing we knew, somebody else wanted to mine there. So a company in Alabama called Twin Pines wants to mine titanium, not inside the Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge, but in the area that basically, if you look at it like a bowl, its Trail Ridge is like the natural dam that keeps the Okefenokee together. So we have been kind of whipsawed because we were trying to look at national regulation that might have stopped this. And the Trump administration redefined what a wetland is and decided that the Okefenokee area was going to be mined was no longer a wetland, which was kind of, I'm sure would be a real surprise to the folks down there. So now we're looking at state regulation that will be required for permits for Twin Pines to have to get in order to do mining. We also have some other ideas about maybe triangulating on some other efforts to do site protection in the area. So if you're interested in this, My name and email are down on this slide, and you can give me a call.
Yes, thank you to all of you. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Nancy, both. Okay, who's up next? Let's see. Oh, Tejas.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am Tejas Kotak, the Rail Chair for the Georgia Sierra Club. RAIL stands for Regional Action to Improve Livability. What we are in practice is the Transit and Transportation Issues Committee. So what that means is we advocate for better buses, trains, bikeways, sidewalks, and more sustainable development around the state. Most of our focus tends to be in Metro Atlanta because that's where we have the largest amount of walkable and bikeable spaces, and of course, the state's largest transit provider, MARTA, as well as other large transit providers in Gwinnett and Cobb County, and the express buses that go from the outer suburbs into the city center. But in recent months, we've also been doing a lot of work with our local group over in Augusta in terms of trying to see how we can make an influence there and improve transit, transportation, and walkability in Richmond County and in the city of Augusta. So those are primarily what we do. We do this by making sure everyone knows to get out to vote for pro-transit candidates. We comment on a bunch of different bureaucratic and regulatory documents that require some amount of advocacy and advocates to tell these government officials if what they're doing is okay or if what they're doing is horrible. So we've commented on things from MARTA, from the Atlanta Regional Commission, from the Augusta Regional Transportation Study, and as well as from the Georgia Department of Transportation. The Georgia Department of Transportation is slowly becoming better at things like transit and sidewalks, but at the pace they're going, we're about a century away from before they are actively on our side. And the best way to get them on our side is to elect more people at the state and local level who are supporters of things like buses, trains, and sidewalks. And those are some of the things that we work on with our local groups and our political groups. So come into my break room later on if you'd like to know more about this.
Thank you, Tejas. Okay, Trisha, you're up.
All right, sounds good. Hello, everybody. I am Trisha Embry. I am a longtime Wildlands volunteer who's mostly done tabling in the past, but recently transitioned to a role as committee co-chair along with Larry Winslet. And we're also supported by the fabulous Jillian Eller, chapter conservation organizer. What we do in the Wildlands and Wildlife Committee really spans the state, and we feel that it's really at the heart of Sierra Club's mission to explore, enjoy, and protect. So there are a lot of different issues you can get involved in. The ones that we raise, ones that you raise. There are lots of different ways to engage. Outings are paused right now, but there definitely we've had virtual outings, and in 2021, we are exploring, doing more ways of engaging across the state digitally. We have subgroups that work on specific issues like forest management, Cooper Creek. You heard from Nancy about the Okefenokee. That's a big one of ours. Cumberland Island, we actually can follow up with an action alert that is going on right now related to this Camden spaceport that is being proposed that we are opposed to because of its effects on Cumberland Island. And some other great ways to get involved are that we recently formed a regional wetlands partnership with the Carolinas to kind of talk about issues that affect us all. And Yeah, so just in 2021, we're looking at building our volunteer capacity, exploring more ways to engage digitally, and our next meeting's coming up on the 8th at 6:30. So we hope you will join us there.
Thank you, Trisha. And Lornette, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. Lornette Vestal. I'm just here to talk quickly about the Military Outdoors program. And wow, it's been 5 years that I've been with the Sierra Club. The Military Outdoors program is a program that's been around since 2006. And our latest iteration is basically came in 2012, where our goal is to get military veterans and their families outdoors. So we wanted to educate the military and veterans community about the benefits of nature. Also, we had a campaign talk about the land we defend. So we did an outing a few years ago in the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. We took several veterans up there and veteran organizations, and those vets a year later testified in Congress to protect the wildlife refuge. And also our program, which I worked with at the Georgia chapter, and Jessica and all the wonderful staff members at the Georgia chapter Sierra Club, to get veterans and their families outdoors, but also involve the larger community. So the Military Outdoors program, they say Military Outdoors, but it's really an outings program for everybody. So folks, there are lots of people who are volunteers in our program who are not actual military veterans, but they have friends, family members or partners who are military veterans or are in the military active duty currently. So our program is trying to bridge the gap between military and civilian. And what I like about the program the most is that we train veterans and military veteran allies and military families how to be outing leaders themselves. And once they become outing leaders, they can choose the outing themselves and do that. And it's kind of been tough with COVID, and we're trying to evolve. So we're doing events from home, virtual outings. And also we're working on a campaign called Veterans for Essential Workers, which will be out very soon. And what we're doing is using our voices of our veterans, veteran allies, and volunteers from the Georgia chapter and across the country to use their voice to advocate for essential workers. Because right now you got essential workers and frontline medical workers who are on the front lines of COVID, and they're dealing with the impact of this pandemic. And once this pandemic subsides, hopefully in the next year or so, they're still going to be left with the mental anguish of that. And our program is all about healing through nature. So we want to use this Veterans for Essential Workers program to uplift veterans to use their voices to say, hey, I use nature to heal. And I think it should be a human right for all folks, especially for our individuals who have been deemed essential workers and are on the front lines of this pandemic, so they can also heal through nature. So that's going to be the big campaign coming out this year. So I'm looking forward to working with all you all. And hopefully if you get questions, you can join our breakout group and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And thanks for all the folks that here in Georgia that I work with to help me build this program and put together. And that's all I got to say. So Tia, you can go to the next person.
Thank you, Lynette. The next is Scott. It looks like you're up, Scott. You're ready to go.
Hey there. Hi, everyone. Scott Preston. I'm a lead volunteer for the Ready for 100 program and the Clean Energy Committee. The Clean Energy Committee has two main campaigns, Ready for 100 that I'll talk about, and the Beyond Coal campaign. The Ready for 100 program seeks to work with cities and counties to make a commitment to transitioning to 100% clean renewable energy, developing an action plan to accomplish this over the long term, and to regularly monitor progress. We currently have 5 cities in Georgia that have made this commitment, showing up on the slide there. But we hope we can add some more to that, and eventually maybe we can get the state to make a commitment. We're currently working with volunteers in Decatur and have a commitment by the city of Decatur to develop a climate energy action plan as a step towards making a Ready for 100 commitment. We've also had some activity with Smyrna, and we're hoping to expand to additional cities or counties, particularly in light of the way some of the elections went in Cobb and in Gwinnett. We need volunteers on the chapter level to help support the local teams and in the geographic areas that are pursuing a campaign for their city or county. We're also looking more towards assisting cities with implementation of their action plans and encouraging efficiency improvement programs for lower income families through the utility providers like Georgia Power or the EMCs or the municipal utilities. The Clean Energy Committee meets virtually on the third Wednesday of the month. And we work with partner organizations, including the Partnership for Southern Equities, Just Energy Circle, and Environment Georgia. So you're going to hear more now from Jillian and Neil, and we hope if you have questions or have an interest, you'll join us in the breakout room. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. We're almost towards those infamous breakout rooms. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about what I do so that you join me and mine. So my name is Jillian. I use they, them, and theirs pronouns, and I'm one of two conservation organizers here at the Georgia chapter of the Sierra Club. I love the Sierra Club because we are movement-based. We are here together intergenerationally working on a multitude of issues. As Scott mentioned, I also help support the Ready for 100 campaign and the Beyond Coal campaign. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about our state level advocacy through the Integrated Resource Plan by the Public Service Commission. Now that's a lot of information and names that you might not be familiar with, but basically we work together between these two campaigns to advance clean energy at the state level and to retire coal plants. As you see on the slide here, these are images from the last integrated resource plan in rate case hearings where the state decides where we get our energy from. These happen every 3 years. So this was the last one in 2019. And some of the victories that we had were an increase in utility scale solar, and net metering, which allows people who have solar panels to make them profitable, and energy efficiency by the utility in Atlanta and Athens. Currently, it's a really great time to get involved in IRP organizing because we are gearing up to be ready for the next cycle in 2022. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's only 2021. Hold your horses. But we want to be ready for the utility so we can advocate for more solar to come online and more coal plants to be retired. So, like Scott mentioned, this work is also housed under the Clean Energy Committee, and we usually meet on the third Wednesdays at 5 p.m. But this month, we're taking a step to welcome you all instead. So join us next month, and that information can be found on our Georgia Chapter Sierra Club calendar. Hope to see you then.
Nice. Thank you, Jillian. And Neil, you're going to finish us out.
So hey, my name is Neil Sardana. I'm your Beyond Coal organizer for the state of Georgia. Well, let me just kind of quickly introduce Beyond Coal because some of you all may have heard of it, some of you may not. So Beyond Coal, as it sounds, yes, there is an interest in retiring coal plants, but that's not really all we're about. Coal obviously has a huge impact on our our communities, on our health, our environment. So beyond just like the absolute like death toll and devastation and massive health impact that coal and other fossil fuels, play a role within our society, we know that there needs to be a future that we all work towards, something that's cleaner, healthier, greater, better for our environment. So a big part of our values in the Beyond Coal campaign is fighting for a just transition. So it's not just shutting down coal plants, but it's actually fighting for a new, renewable, better, clean future. And a big part of that is unfortunately also cleaning up the legacy of these fossil fuel plants. So what we're dealing with right now here in the state of Georgia is there are 8 different coal sites in which our state currently is planning to allow to permanently continue poisoning our water within Georgia. And so in this permit process, this is a process that the Georgia Environmental Protection Division is engaging in. We will have the opportunity to say, to give our comments, to provide our input as the public, as the residents and citizens of the state of Georgia, as to how we want to see this issue, this problem dealt with. And I think obviously as an environmental organization, as an organization concerned about our economy and our people, our friends and families' health, we clearly are not wanting to see our state continue to allow our water being poisoned. Many of y'all may be aware of Plant Share, which is just northeast of Macon, Georgia. There has been a big issue made of many people in that community getting poisoned by the coal ash around Plant Share, which is the largest coal plant in the entire nation. And we believe other coal plants and coal ash sites across the state of Georgia are also poisoning other people's water. So we've seen, really high rates of cancer and other health issues. Livestock dying from drinking this water in around Plant Share. People didn't have access to water that was provided publicly through a public, utility that had it filtered and the chemicals monitored. And so, the community rose up, took action, and called on the county to build a better infrastructure and to bring clean water into that space. But we know these other places have not gotten quite the same attention. And we want to make sure that people are, aware of this issue, that if they have groundwater and they live anywhere near any of these locations, that they can take action. And so here I've listed the 8 different sites that we are anticipating these permits coming up. And what the state of Georgia is planning on doing is basically putting a liner on top of these coal ash sites. But what that would allow it to do is continue to allow the coal ash to seep into the water, because essentially the coal ash is not being dug out and put into a lined landfill. So we're going to be calling on the state and Georgia Power to excavate all this coal ash, put it in a lined and capped landfill so that this can no longer leach into our rivers and poison our communities. So you can learn a bit more about this coal ash issue and how we're taking action, not only to address this environmental justice issue, but build a base of community members who can really hold Georgia Power and the state of Georgia accountable for moving towards a cleaner, a healthier future. So thank you all, and I'd love to continue working with y'all.
Yeah, thank you, Neil, and thank you, everyone. Give yourselves a gentle round of applause. We did it. There's a lot of different work happening in Georgia, and we just got a snapshot from all of the current campaigns that we're interested in you getting involved in. So congratulations. Thank you to our impressive leaders for those updates. I promise to share the slideshow so that y'all can revisit all of the information we went through and get in touch with all of our leaders individually. So moved. My proposal is that we transition into wrapping all of this up. So Gina has a few words for us real quickly.
Awesome. Hey, y'all. I'm Gina Weber. I am the development associate here at the chapter. Some of y'all might know me from some of our political work that I did, but my main job is fundraising. So I'm always the person that sends you stuff in the mail, asking you for money. I just wanted to say thanks to y'all for coming and being on this call this evening. As you can see, the chapter, we have so many different ways to get involved, whether that's our political work or testing water or advocating with state legislators about expanding transit. Everything is so important, and volunteers really do make up the backbone of our chapter. That being said, you know, we're growing as a chapter. We have an awesome staff here to support you, awesome volunteer leaders, awesome groups. So any questions you have, always reach out to us. But again, we really rely on volunteer leadership, volunteer help, and every little bit helps, whether that's sending text messages during political season, making a phone call to your local Board of Commissioners chair, anything like that. Everything helps. And also, you know, bring a friend. We're always looking for new people, young people, older folks, maybe your neighbor. Whatever it is, we would love to have you. We're a fun group of people. When it's not COVID, we're even more fun. So you should really come and hang out with us. And thank you again so much for being here. And I look forward to getting to know y'all better. Thanks.